Hello, hello, hello. Who's with me? Here we are. Oh, why did it pause? Why did the live pause? We're telling your followers that you're starting a live video. I'm looking at Instagram. It's a whole different ball game up there on Instagram. And so down here, we should have Facebook. We should have YouTube. We should have LinkedIn. We should have Twitter. Come on board, people. Let me go to your comments. Always let me know where you're watching from because it's fun. Comments. There we go. Click on a comment to show it on screen. Yes, I know that. Hi, everybody. Tell me where you're watching from. It's Dr. Wendy Walsh, and we are going to talk a little bit about our love lives tonight. I know everyone hates these glasses, but it's the only way I can see you and read the comments really carefully is with my crazy big bug eye glasses. So good to see you, Oklahoma. Who is that? Lance in Oklahoma? Where else are you guys? How come some destinations are not posting comments? Hello, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Maybe there's a lag because I'm not seeing any of your comments. Here we go, David. Hi, how are you? Tell me where you're watching from. Hello, Camarillo, California. My other home that I'm not up at school teaching, all by Zoom. Hello, Elite from DC. How are you? Hi, Rodney from Corona. How are you? Bill from Missouri. Hi, Bill from Missouri. Good to see you. Mr. Anteria from Orange. I'm going to pronounce all these names wrong. Plus you have all your cookie screen names on. So free for all tonight. Anybody have any relationship questions? Hello, Nate from Nashville, Tennessee. Is winter there yet? Is fall happening, Nate? What's going on in Nashville? Is it cold yet? Hello, Good Food Times from Ontario. I assume Ontario, California. Not Ontario, Canada. Never know, could be. Hello, Akshay from Canada. I don't know where in Canada. I'm going with Toronto, Ottawa, somewhere there. Tell me where you're watching from. It's always my pleasure to be here for you. So let's talk a little bit about our relationship lives. Nate says it is cold. From Whittier. Hello, Whittier, California. How are you? Okay. So I don't see any. Hello, South Lake Tahoe. Solange is back, my regular. Hello, Quentin from Victoria, BC. Good to see you. We're all over the place. Solange, you got a foot of snow on your roof today. Foot of snow today, not on your roof. See, I got to put the glasses on and then I can see. Okay, so Good Food Time says they're 25. Feeling depressed because everyone is married except you. Well, you're obviously hanging out with the wrong crowd because there are actually more single adults in America than married adults. And there's a lot of social pressure. Hi, Lisa, how are you? Hi, Bethy, how are you in Toronto? There are actually more single adults in America for the first time in history than married adults, but I do know there is social pressure. Remember that marriage was created back when the two genders couldn't fairly extract resources from the environment. When we moved from hunter-gatherers into farmers, and it was a deal to help women in many ways. So when will you marry Justin Garcia? I wish Justin Garcia would marry me. He's too young. He's too young. But wouldn't that be great? If he was older, I was younger. For those who don't know, Justin Garcia is like the big head honcho of the Kinsey Institute at the University of Indiana. And I have interviewed him a number of times on my podcast, and he is brilliant. He has a big fat brain. That's what he is. And so that's sexy to me. So I throw out my crushes to people. Remember Andrew Cuomo? The beginning of COVID. Anyway, why not throw out my crushes into the world? They're just crushes. We're allowed to have them, right? Nobody's getting hurt here. Nothing, nobody's married, whatever. Okay, any more relationship questions? Ask me. What's going on in your lives? How are you coping with COVID? What are you doing for Thanksgiving? Mine's completely canceled. It's not going to happen. Somebody does not like Cuomo. I know somebody else said, how can you have a crush on him? He's like the Donald Trump of the liberals. I'm like, he is? He's a narcissist? I don't know. I didn't hear that. Thank you that I'm your crush. Great. Fantasize all the way, whatever it takes, whatever you need. But I'm not available because I actually have a boyfriend now. Is that crazy? Me. I have a boyfriend. I know. He's really sweet. Oh, hello, Zachary Cap in Vegas. How are you? You've got 20 people, someone else, Dan, I think, 20 people coming over for a party. I don't think that's okay. I'm just saying. We're supposed to be, aren't we 10 or less? How did I meet my boyfriend? On Bumble. On Bumble. That's where I met my boyfriend, on Bumble. See, here's the thing is, I don't like to date young, not that I don't like you young guys, but I'm a teacher all day long. I don't have to teach at night too. And so I like older guys, but I like them to be hip and in the culture. So when I say older, I mean like my age around. And so I figure that the apps are the place the hipper, youngish, older guys would be. Somebody doesn't believe in COVID. Oh, well, I hope you're never in a COVID ward saying goodbye to a loved one. You want to talk about dating apathy? Yes, of course it can happen. You just have to know. In fact, on the same note, can it happen on, is he black? Someone asked me. He's a little bit black. He's a mishmash of a whole bunch of things. But yes, his father is black. So there you go. I don't know what that means to anybody, but that's just answering the question. Okay, so the question was about dating apathy and can it happen on dating apps? Yes, but a dating app is no different than a nightclub. You got to know how to use it, right? So let me give you some tips on how to use dating apps to actually, my children are black. There's a question there. I can't believe you asked that question. Oh my goodness. I am an equal opportunity dater, but my children are black. Okay. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, how to find love on a dating app. Here's what you need to know. When you match with somebody on a dating app, do not match with a whole bunch of people. Don't chat with 20 people on a dating app. You will suffer from paradox of choice because the more choice a human being is given, the less likely they are to make a choice and the more likely they are to not value their choice when they make that choice. So first pick 2 people. You match with them, you start chatting. Now, get off the app as quickly as possible. Apps are designed to keep you addicted to the app. They're not designed to help you find a relationship. So what I want you to do is I want you to chat with 1 or 2 people and very soon on, give your phone number. Remember, everybody's all worried about security. You can block somebody in a heartbeat. And I hope you guys don't have your phone bills going to your house. Maybe regular people do. I don't know. I would never have my phone bill go. I would never have any bill coming to my house, but that's me. And that's because 28 years ago, I attended a seminar given by Gavin DeBecker, who was saying everybody needs a separate place for their mail to go, not their house. But anyway, so nobody can find me with my cell phone number. It goes to a separate address and I can block anybody if I want to. So whatever. So give a phone number and talk. Don't text, talk. And use every level of entry into your life, from text on the app to text on the phone to first phone conversation, as a level of elimination, right? The game of finding somebody who tickles your fancy and makes you feel good is a really huge, big, long game of elimination. It's a process of elimination. So you have a phone conversation. You can tell a lot on the phone, whether you want to waste your time meeting for a coffee. And then look at your COVID values. I'm very protective with COVID. And so I was very clear that if we met for a coffee, it had to be in a very windy outdoor restaurant and we had to have masks on. And he respected me and he did that. And in fact, the first 3 dates we had were in very windy places. My hair was flying and masks because I was that nervous, right? And so you can use all these levels of meeting as not, can I make this person like me? But instead, can I eliminate this person, right? You got to turn your head around and think, I am going to find somebody I connect with. Yes, somebody asked, should you do background checks? If your stomach is telling you that you need to do a background check, then you don't need to go out with this person. But if you're going to meet somebody in person the first time, make sure it's in a neighborhood restaurant that you know and you feel familiar with if you're the woman. Make sure that the bartender knows you, that nobody's going to carry you out drugged over their shoulder. Make sure that you have a getaway plan in the sense that your best friend is going to text you 20 minutes into it going, how are things going? Do you need an escape plan? You got to do that. It's modern times. This is how we roll, folks. I hope my boyfriend's not listening. He's going to be like, you had a getaway plan when we met? I always do. I always do. Someone said I should build a dating app. Oh my God, I know so much about the science. If any engineers are listening or any companies, I can tell you there's an app in my head that no one has done yet that actually finds people an actual mate. But the problem is it doesn't make money, because what makes money is people being addicted to the app, not actually finding mates. So you have to, it'll biohack your brain and make you addicted to it, unless you sort of hack the app and get off it very quickly and use old-fashioned, listen to your stomach, listen to your heart. Now, I do want to remind you that we all have a certain kind of attachment style, right? And if our early life relationships were filled with pain, longing, abuse, we will unconsciously go out and find somebody who will make that happen for, there's a bug here. That's weird. Where'd the bug come from? Make those feelings, those familiar but painful feelings happen again. So it's really important that you do your own internal work. Love is an inside game, and it's really about finding your own sense of contentment and happiness, and then bringing that into a relationship. Finding a relationship isn't about finding happiness. It's not finding somebody who will complete you. It's about being two secure people coming together to support each other and share life. It's not going to fix you. You got to fix yourself first. And then, like I say, love happens when you're busy making other plans. Oh, how sweet. Somebody said something nice to me, that they met me on Bumble. Really? See, nowadays, that's like saying I ran into you in this bar a year ago. Remember we met, whatever? And a lot of people use the apps just to meet friends and have business acquaintances. You can configure them that way. You should, yes. Who asked about Googling? Somebody, Rodney. Yeah, let me put that up. Basically, I think Rodney was responding to the fact that I said, if your gut tells you you should do a background check on somebody, then maybe you shouldn't see them. On the other hand, you should Google absolutely everybody. And if they don't have any kind of electronic footprint and no social media in today's times, you want to question that. They're either using a different name, they're married, whatever, right? So yeah, you should, of course, we all Google each other before we go to a business meeting. We Google the people, so we have some background. I saw a New Yorker, what do you call it? I was going to say comic. No, it's not a comic. What do you call those? The little cartoons. And it was two couples walking on a date, and one said to the other, so what should we talk about since we already know everything about each other from Google or something like that? It was very funny. But you can get a general idea. And also some of the apps like Bumble connects up to, and I'm sure the others do, connects up to people's Instagram. So you can cruise through their Instagram. Okay, what's another comment I can put up here besides compliments, which are very sweet, but any more questions? Oh, yes. Kim says you can use Facebook or Zoom chat instead of giving out a phone number. And certainly I do recommend doing virtual dates. Why don't you both order takeout from the same restaurant and open your food? I mean, different food, but talk about it and that kind of thing. Any more questions about relationships? Where should I go with this? I've run out talking about, oh, you know what comes up a lot during COVID? Because people go on those apps and then they fall in love with people from far away, and there's a lot of long distance relationships going on. Why do you want a long distance relationship? You have to ask yourself. Because generally relationships that work well as a long distance relationship often don't work when you cozy up in the same city. And other relationships that work well close suffer a lot when they turn into long distance relationships. So why don't you reduce your GPS a little bit and shrink that search area in? It says there's more comments. To buy into love languages. I think that I'm not super familiar with the Love Languages book. I probably should read it because people do ask me about it. It's not psychological theory, but it is yet another way that we explain connection. My area of interest is an area called attachment theory that has been studied, oh gosh, since the 1930s, 40s, 50s, when John Bowlby created it. And it has been studied in relationship to everything from academic achievement to financial success to numbers of divorce, etc. And it's the lens that lets me look at life, who falls into what kind of attachment theory. There is a book called Attached, which is written, I should memorize the name of the authors. It's a well-written book for the general public that breaks down attachment style. And you can all find out your attachment style. There's a test online by Chris Fraley, Fraley. He's one of the big researchers in attachment. And he's always collecting data online. So you can literally Google the words Chris Fraley attachment test, and up will come a good test for you too. Okay, so Akshay wants to know, what does anxious attachment mean? So it used to be, in the early days of the theory, people were put into a specific category of attachment. They were either emotionally avoidant, they were either anxious avoidant, or they were anxious ambivalent, they were anxious clingy. They were the people, come forward, go away, come forward, go away. I'll create drama to make you go away, and then I'll suck you back in, right? Because they're ambivalent. They're avoidant, like I can have sex with you, but I can't really touch any close feelings because that's too much for me. So I got to run away and disappear after moments of intimacy. And then there are people who have a disorganized attachment style. The truth is, our attachment style lies somewhere on a continuum, not in one neat little category. But having said that, we tend to have tendencies. So people who have a lot of anxiety around attachment have trouble trusting people and depending on people. They spend a lot of time worrying that they're going to leave them. They're very vigilantly watching. These are the people that will say to me, how many minutes the last text came, or hours, how many words were in it. They're consciously counting and trying to figure out if there is a threat of abandonment. Interesting enough, they most often get attracted to people who have an avoidant attachment style. And people who have an avoidant attachment style really feel easily smothered, easily engulfed. They perceive any act of kindness as it's too much, right? Yet they still need to have sex, so they have all the good game to reach out and make sort of as much of a connection as they need. But the emotional connection is very, very difficult. This is actually a good question, Corn Metallica. I'm going to put it up because I want to address it. He asks about victims of sexual abuse. He says, what do they do after they've been abused? But let's talk specifically about what kinds of adult relationships are they attracted to. You see, the problem with child sexual abuse is the child blames themselves. The child often doesn't know that they were sexually abused until well into adulthood when somebody tells them. Often the abuse that happened from the hand of someone they loved, a close family member or friend. And as a result, they grow up to not really trust relationships and even re-injure themselves by getting into relationships over and over again where there's a lot of pain. And so that is the lifelong legacy. There's also been research to show that people who have suffered childhood sexual abuse have all kinds of health issues. One statistic that's particularly alarming to me that I read recently said that 50% of individuals who suffer from obesity were sexually abused. That's a huge correlation, 50%, right? It's like, I will eat my feelings. I'll learn to eat my feelings because I can't tell anybody, or I'll hide under layers of fat so nobody will ever touch me again, right? It's heartbreaking. And Corn Metallica wants to know about the Boy Scouts. Well, the big news this week in sexual abuse cases is the number of cases that have come forward regarding the Boy Scouts of America organization is actually more victims than the entire Catholic Church. It's a big one. The Boy Scouts have even set up a fund for a victims fund. If you see some of the commercials I do are for really well-respected ethical law firms who are representing victims. But there are these other commercials that the Boy Scouts themselves are doing because they're trying to reach out and find the victims first so they can offer them a lowball settlement. Just saying. So if you were a victim of sexual abuse in the Boy Scouts, please reach out to a reputable lawyer. Okay, let's move back on to relationships. What qualities and traits do women find attractive in men? Well, let me quote the research of Dr. David Buss at the University of Texas, Austin. He's a famous I was going to say anthropologist, but he's a evolutionary psychologist. He's written the textbook on this. And he did a study that was cross-cultural, 37 different countries, more than 10,000 participants. So he had therapists and practitioners, clinicians, pull in information. And he asked people to say, well, what do you find attractive in a mate? And what he found is, makes sense evolutionary, that women prefer resources first, right? Money first. And any girl who says she's not a gold digger is lying. Because the truth is, if you were given two identical twin brothers, one had money and one didn't, yeah. So, but that dates to our anthropological past when we had so many vulnerable years of nursing and child rearing, and we needed someone to bring us back the protein. But right behind that, they look for intelligence. And one of the ways that men showcase intelligence on dates is through humor, right? If you've ever listened to my Mating Matters podcast called Funny is for Foreplay, it's about the evolution of humor as a human mating strategy. And behind that, number 3, they look for kindness. So again, in our hunter-gatherer past, if there was a harsh winter, you had to have a smart guy who could figure out how to make money. But if he was also an evil, mean domestic violence offender, you needed a kind one too. And when men look for mates in women, of course, they look for youth and beauty first. However, even if they're looking for a mate later in life, so a 45-year-old guy who wants to date a 45-year-old woman would look for sort of the youngest and prettiest 45-year-old woman, right? So, but he's triggered for kind of youth and beauty. But again, right behind that is loyalty. Men don't fall in love through sex. Men fall in love through trust. And they generally don't trust someone who gives them sex too easily. So they want someone who will stick to them because, again, in our anthropological past, if they ended up attaching to a woman who shared her eggs with the entire team, he could end up raising another guy's genes and he would have fallen out of evolution's chain. And then behind that, third thing for both men and women is always kindness. So my advice always is to showcase your kindness, right? And be a kind person. Question was, do women like bad boys or resourceful, intelligent, kind guys? Well, they're going to remember that attachment thing I was talking about. So women who have had, and it is 1/3 of American women who have suffered some kind of abuse in their childhood, whether it was sexual abuse, emotional abuse, or physical abuse. And so often that abuse came from the hand of somebody they loved. And so as a result, their blueprint for love is to have some pain associated with it. So when you hear that women like bad boys, let's define what bad boys is. Is she an anxious, attaching girl who likes guys who disappear after sex, who are avoidant and who are longing, and leave them longing, I mean? Does she like somebody who's critical of her and actually rude to her? Well, that's somebody who hasn't worked out her own stuff, and that's not somebody you want to be with. Because here's the thing, when you have this blueprint for love, if somebody doesn't match what you need, so you take whatever damage or injury you had as a child, you walk into your adult romantic life, and you try to find that familiar feeling of love, even if that feeling of love was filled with pain. And if somebody won't cooperate, you might actually behave in a way to kind of get them to behave in that way, right? The drama queen who creates all kinds of problems till a guy treats her bad or he gets mad at her because that's familiar to her. Oh, what an excellent question, Miss Dew. Let me put it up there. Is attachment same as love? Oh my gosh, I could do a whole lecture on this. So yes, attachment is the same as love, but love is a specific emotion and feeling that comes with the early bonding period. So Some forms of lust and all the neurochemicals that make you really excited to get involved in a sexual relationship with somebody are a form of love. But just as much so, that emotional intimacy and connection and sharing vulnerable feelings, that's love. And also the intellectual commitment, that doing a cost-benefit analysis after the hormones have died down a bit and said, you know what, this person's could be a good partner for life, right? That intellectual commitment love is still love, right? So love is three things. It's lust, it's emotional intimacy, and it's commitment. And any relationship might have one, two, or three of those things. No judgment. It's just the way it is, right? So attachment style determines how you love. And some people have love relationships that they truly believe is love, but is still filled with lots of pain because that's familiar to them. That's normal to them, right? Oh, another great question. Oh, I love these questions, Miss Du. Do love and fear exist together? What's the definition of freedom in a relationship? Okay. These bright lights are killing my eyes. By the way, I've had a lot of Zooms today and I was teaching for hours. So this is going to be my last question. I'm going to wrap it up because I'm getting eye aches. Love and fear. If you value a partner, you should have some form of sexual jealousy, meaning you're going to practice some mate guarding because you're afraid of losing them. That's normal. Now, if mate guarding has gone awry and you turn into a stalker, or you're so jealous you can't tolerate hearing stories about their exes or worrying who they're going to go out with one night and it's really becoming dysfunctional, that's not healthy love, right? But healthy love should be, if you value your partner, should be feelings of deep security, moments of complete trust and love, and a little tiny voice that says, I want to keep that person close. I don't want somebody to steal that mate, right? But again, you don't do anything completely irrational. You don't do anything dangerous, but you might have that feeling. It means you value your lover. What is the definition of freedom in a relationship? Everybody has their own definition, but any love relationship is a constant struggle between union, right? What two brains can accomplish together is much greater than any one brain can accomplish alone. But if you get too fused with somebody, then you lose yourself, right? And so we also have to have a certain degree of autonomy. So every relationship is a constant conflict between union and autonomy. Union and autonomy, making like a Venn diagram, right? Two separate people, you want to overlap a little bit, don't overlap too much, and don't be too separate. And that is the work of a healthy love relationship, being able to constantly be aware of where your sense of self is and where your commitment to the union of what the two of you are creating is. Okay, I'm gonna go. My eyes are hurting. I love you all, but you got 27 minutes. How's that? Anyway, you can always find me on KFI AM 640 Los Angeles. That's old-fashioned radio, live every Sunday from 4 to 6. But every show is put up on the iHeartRadio app afterwards as a kind of podcast called The Dr. Wendy Walsh Show. I think they call it Dr. Wendy Walsh On Demand. In addition, I have a separate, well-researched, scripted podcast called Mating Matters that's all about evolutionary psychology. So you can find it wherever you listen to your podcasts. So, and if you're in Australia, of course, you know that I do Australia Channel 9, their version of the Today Show. I think that's my Tuesday, your Wednesday morning. Anyway, good to see you all again. Keep your questions coming. We will see you next Wednesday at 6 o'clock. Oh, it's the night before Thanksgiving. I don't know exactly where I'll be. I'm thinking of doing a road trip. I don't know where my internet's going to be. We'll try. All right, good to see you all. See you soon. Bye.